100 years of history. The people, events, and ideas that shaped our world come alive in rare archival footage. This is a century on film. The 1960s were a decade in which young people rose up in revolt. This storm of youth unrest had a profound impact on our modern world. August 13th, 1961. The people of Berlin wake to an astonishing sight. Overnight, concrete and barbed wire have appeared to partition their city. Berlin is already split into two sectors. East Germany has erected a wall to halt the exodus of its citizens. West Berlin Mayor Willy Brandt rushes to the scene. The wall is soon reinforced to cover 43 kilometers of border between East and West.
The organic wholeness of the metropolis was torn apart. I could only watch with fury and despair as family ties between tens of thousands of Berliners were severed.
Just a few years later, a new generation will rise up as though with a single will on both sides of the East-West divide. In the West, the Vietnam War arouses students to protest. The anger of youth boils over at an American government that refuses to end the killing. America, France, West Germany, Japan. On the other side of the divide, in the Soviet bloc, young people demand freedom and democracy.
Cenzura přestala, přátelé, existovat. Hurá!
Czechoslovakia moves toward a new kind of socialism, one with freedom of the press and a market economy. But the so-called Prague Spring is soon crushed by Soviet forces. Young Czechs fight back with words instead of weapons. Television coverage triggers a series of youth protests in other countries. The new technology of satellite broadcasting distributes information further and faster than ever before. The sound of students throwing bricks at police in Paris rings out instantly across the globe. The world also sees close-up images of young protesters confronting military tanks in Prague. Satellite broadcasts jump the East-West divide with ease. Solidarity spreads like wildfire among the youth of the world. They were the product of a global baby boom after World War II. Their explosive energy overturns the social order and creates a new culture. A generation later, that energy will grow strong enough to topple the divide between East and West. Our world broadcast in June 1967, is the first live global satellite broadcast. It is seen simultaneously by hundreds of millions of people.
This should be a moment in television history, because this program will bring together more places throughout the world than has ever been possible before. Live pictures from across the world will be brought to us here in Britain. At the same time, they will reach millions of viewers in 24 different countries throughout the world.
The Japan segment begins in Hokkaido with images of a newborn baby. The US report is broadcast from New Jersey.
I'm Dick McCutcheon of NET. It is now 3:17 p.m. And almost exactly 90 minutes ago, American President Johnson and Soviet Premier Kosygin entered this house to resume their meeting on the summit.
The Italian segment shows the filming of Romeo and Juliet.
In the half-darkened church. Olivia!
Communication satellites 36,000 kilometers above the equator herald the advent of an interconnected world. A performance by the Beatles in London closes out the programme. All You Need Is Love was written for and heard for the first time during the broadcast. The BBC asked the band for a simple song that could reach as many people as possible. (1967) is also a year when the Vietnam War comes to dominate the news. American TV audiences watch nightly as Vietnamese civilians flee napalm attacks by US forces.
Now CIA men and MPs have gone into the embassy and are trying to get the snipers out.
For the first time, people watch a war unfold from their own living rooms. The US insists that it is a just war to support South Vietnam. But the television images belie government rhetoric. Young people all over the country start to denounce the war. The first baby boomers, now of college age, are in the forefront of opposition to the conflict in Vietnam. This footage captures an anti-war demonstration in Washington, D.C. It draws more than 100,000 protesters. Until now, opposing communism has been considered essential to the preservation of freedom and democracy. But the young are not bound by this worldview. When Columbia University moves to restrict activism on campus, students occupy the president's office in protest. This footage shows students burning their military draft cards. Most student draft deferments are eliminated. Bringing the war closer to home only intensifies the opposition protests.
Our young people, in disturbing numbers, appear to reject all forms of authority, and they have taken a refuge in a nihilism whose sole objectives are destruction. I know of no time in our history when the gap between the generations has been wider or more potentially dangerous.
Opposition to the war spills outside America's borders. Protests in West Germany turn violent. February 1968. A demonstration in West Berlin attracts 12,000 young marchers. In response, 80,000 attend a counter-demonstration backed by the city, which ends in street fighting. Older Germans see these young activists as replaying the Nazi black shirt violence of the 30s. Whereas German youth are distrustful of their parents' generation for entrusting the nation to the Nazis. Graduate of the Free University of Berlin, Rudi Dutschke, is a leading figure in German opposition to the war. At an anti-war meeting organized by Dutschke.
Wir protestieren gegen diese Konferenz, meine Damen und Herren. Die ist
An older man attempts to seize the microphone. Dutschke draws inspiration from a certain revolutionary. Che Guevara is a key figure in the Cuban Revolution of 1959.
Wäre ich in Lateinamerika, würde ich mit der Waffe in der Hand kämpfen. Wir wollen eine Gesellschaft, in der nicht Tag für Tag Signale ausgegeben werden von den Herrschenden. Die Deutschen haben nach Marx mal die Aufgabe gehabt, als Letzte erst dran zu sein mit der Revolution.
Dutschke is not the only one who idolizes Guevara. Many young people march beneath his likeness. Guevara's revolution is captured on film and seen around the world. 1957. His band of rebels is based in the Sierra Maestra, a mountain range in southern Cuba. Guevara is 28. Along with a 30-year-old Fidel Castro and a dozen or so followers, the two men continue their war with Cuba's government. Cuba is under a dictator's rule. President Fulgencio Batista has suspended the constitution, yet still enjoys US support.
The U.S. Air Force's tour of wings.
A newsreel reports on a US Air Force aerobatic demonstration over Havana.
In South America, spectacular aerial stunting at jet speed thrills President Batista and thousands of other spectators. Defense Department films show the grand finale of the first display of America's jet-age air power below the border.
The Cuban capital is also a thriving pleasure center, but only for foreigners and rich locals with plenty of US dollars. Batista's corrupt and repressive government strikes back hard at the slightest hint of opposition. A US television team shot this footage of Castro's revolutionaries. Reporters make the pilgrimage to the jungle guerrillas and launch the legend of the two revolutionary leaders.
The Barbudos suffered terrible privations and hardships in the jungles of the Sierra Maestra. There was an aura of mystery about Guevara, an exceptionally keen intellect with a tongue and pen that slashed at his own.
Guevara was a medical college graduate and is initially assigned as a combat medic. But his diverse talents find him creating printing machinery and a radio station and assuming the role of rebel spokesperson.
Durante todos los meses, ya son 16 los meses que hemos estado en la Sierra Maestra, han venido periodistas de muchas partes del mundo y se han preocupado para dar al pueblo de Cuba el primer saludo que tengo oportunidad.
Castro and Guevara are sure that the people will support them if their guerrillas can hold on long enough. They continue surprise attacks on Batista's troops.
When Fidel opened fire with his telescopic sights, we could tell where the barracks were by the gunfire that responded within seconds. The civilian population was our main concern as we went to take up our battle stations. It was raining at dawn. We decided to wait in the hut for it to stop. As the hours passed, local peasants came by to offer their services.
Local farmers flock to the rebels, swelling their ranks to 400. December 1958. After 2 years holed up in the mountains, farmer soldiers led by Guevara's guerrillas prepare for their final battle. They advance out of the mountains toward the provincial capital of Santa Clara. 3,000 of Batista's men are waiting for them. A cameraman accompanying the rebels captures this surprise assault on a supply train. The guerrillas prevail. The news of the revolution, a victory won by a force that began with only a handful of men, electrifies the world. French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre visits Cuba just after the revolution.
The greatest scandal of the Cuban Revolution isn't that it expropriated the plantations, but that it brought children to power. Since a revolution was needed, only the young had enough anger and anguish to attempt it, enough integrity to succeed.
Many young people travel to Cuba as volunteers to help build the new nation. American college students converse with Che Guevara. They are impressed to see how the former guerrilla works alongside the people after the revolution.
After the guerrilla forces took political power, I was in college reading Castro speeches and Che Guevara essays like millions of other youths. Castro and Guevara were sharing all resources and wealth, eradicating poverty and racism. Two dashing personalities, delivering inspirational speeches, stimulating energy, and bonding us as comrades. Their echoes resounded the world over.
Bolivia, October 1967. The world is stunned by the news. Che Guevara is dead. While in Bolivia trying to establish a guerrilla movement, he is ambushed and killed by government forces acting under CIA guidance. He was 39. Guevara's death further inflames young people around the globe. May 1968. Student protests explode in France. strikes and unrest spread throughout the nation, leading some to call it the May Revolution. Students opposing the Vietnam War joined forces with unions demanding better pay. Workers call a general strike. Factories and public transportation shut down. The protesters demand that President Charles de Gaulle resign. The Champs-Élysées is occupied by hundreds of thousands of protesters. Jean-Luc Godard, one of France's foremost directors, films the demonstration.
The May Revolution was a major moment. I had no experience of war, the Russian Revolution, or the Spanish Civil War. But to me, the events were overwhelming. I felt that nothing was impossible. I joined in the demonstrations joyfully.
In Cannes, new wave directors like Godard and Truffaut demand that the festival be suspended in solidarity with the protesters. They clash bitterly with the organizers.
Quel est le rapport de cette association avec le fait qu'ici, par votre faute, par la faute de la minorité, nous ne pouvons pas voir les films que nous voulions voir ici.
Je vous parle solidarité avec les étudiants et les ouvriers, et vous me parlez travelling et gros plans. Vous êtes
For the first time ever, festival screenings are suspended. Students at the Sorbonne play a major role in the May events. Guevara looks down as they confer. And alongside Che is Chairman Mao Zedong. What is it about this man that so strongly influences young people a world away? In 1958, Mao sets the Great Leap Forward in motion. The plan is to harness China's huge peasant population to drive a crash program of industrialization. Mao hopes that in just 15 years, China can overtake Britain, the world's second largest economy. The Great Leap Forward is a huge experiment that aims to demonstrate the superiority of socialism in a nation of 600 million. Recordings of Mao's speeches are extremely rare. Born in the provinces, he was said to be self-conscious about his accent. In this precious footage, he exhorts his people. But the Great Leap Forward, which he launches a decade after seizing power to demonstrate the superiority of socialism, is an abject failure. Farmers are encouraged to falsify their production figures despite the reality of failing harvests. Mao's folly is exacerbated by natural disasters, and famine kills millions of Chinese before the campaign is abandoned. But the communists conceal this enormous tragedy from the rest of the world. Mao's doctrine elevates the poor to the pinnacle of society. He is a hero whose ideals led him to build a socialist state in a nation of 600 million. This is how he appears to European youth. The failure of the Great Leap Forward causes Mao to lose his standing. However, he emerges again 7 years later to wrest back power with a new initiative. (1966). Chairman Mao Zedong proclaims his great proletarian cultural revolution. 1 million people, most of them students, crowd the square to hear him speak. President Liu Shaoqi and Secretary General Deng Xiaoping have eclipsed Mao. These pragmatic reformers seek to expand China's economy. Mao attacks their policies as a betrayal of his revolution. But what matters to Mao is not ideology. His goal is to rally the population, oust the reformers, and regain his lost influence. Mao's weapon is the Red Guards, a paramilitary movement of over 10 million students. They march with copies of his Little Red Book, a collection of Mao quotations. He urges them on with the slogan, "Cao Fan Yoli," rebellion is justified. China's students are passionately committed to smashing revisionist forces and culture and restoring the revolution.
Our generation missed out on the revolution our fathers made, but a new revolution found us.
The Cultural Revolution was my salvation, because it would not tolerate the dominance of the bourgeoisie.
We students saw a bright new world opening up before us. Everyone was excited and weeping with joy.
Top-ranked Tsinghua University's name is expunged from its gate as a reminder of the Qing dynasty. Priceless cultural artifacts created over millennia are destroyed. The Red Guards march in Tiananmen Square with an enormous statue of Mao. Young people build similar huge likenesses of their leader, as if to prove their loyalty. The fervor of the young escalates until it threatens the highest-ranking leaders. President Liu Shaoqi is dragged before a crowd wielding Mao's Little Red Book and denounced for betraying the revolution. Mao achieves his goal and returns as China's paramount leader. But the "rebellion is justified" slogan creates a storm of protest even Mao himself did not foresee. The Red Guards turn on anyone they deem a counter-revolutionary: teachers, friends, even their own parents. China becomes a nation of persecutors and persecuted. Mob psychology rules.
The more likely someone was to be labeled a counter-revolutionary themselves, the harder they hit their targets. They wanted to show that they were the most revolutionary. Even if you ran out of grounds to denounce someone, you couldn't stop. This revolution changed people's characters.
For the next 10 years, until Mao's death, the Cultural Revolution continues to rage at a cost of millions of lives, many from suicide. Yet the world remains largely unaware of the true situation in China. 1968 is a year of turmoil not seen since World War II. In April, Washington, D.C. is shaken by riots and looting in the wake of Reverend Martin Luther King's assassination. Troops are sent in to quell the violence. 46 people die, and some 20,000 are arrested. Anger spreads like a contagion to other nations, especially among the young. Japanese university students mount violent protests. Okinawa is a hub for America's war against North Vietnam. Student protesters accuse Japan of aiding and abetting US war crimes. In October, the Shinjuku district of Tokyo is engulfed in rioting. Student radicals invade Shinjuku Station. Others join them in an orgy of vandalism. In Britain, university students clash with mounted police. The violence spreads to elite schools like Cambridge and Oxford. Amongst the 20,000 protesters is Stephen Hawking, who will go on to become a world-renowned cosmologist. Mick Jagger also shows his solidarity.
Tell me, please, what can I possibly do? Our young people are obviously being manipulated by forces in Germany and China. It is not possible that all of these movements could be unleashed at the same time in so many different countries without orchestration.
Youth rebellion also gives rise to a new culture. Long-haired hippies, rock and roll, the child of rhythm and blues, slogans like "Make love, not war," young people embracing unself-consciously. The youth counterculture criticizes old values and social structures. It quickly becomes a global phenomenon.
The Beatles were playing endlessly on the radio. The Rolling Stones were gathering fans. Mary Quant invented the miniskirt, and every girl, pretty or not, was modelling legs. The sun seemed to shine on London for the first time since the end of the war.
Television brings images of the youth rebellion in the West to millions beyond the Iron Curtain. The media in Czechoslovakia enjoy the greatest freedom of expression in the Eastern Bloc. The Czech people begin an experiment in political liberalization. The Prague Spring. This footage captures a meeting between Czechoslovak politicians and ordinary citizens. Their shared goal is to make socialism compatible with freedom.
Tak vy jste si mysleli, že opravdu, že to tady u nás v té naší republice jako kočíruje Sovětský svaz. Tak jestli si to někdo myslí, tak mladí přátelé, tak vám říkám, že se šeredně mýlíte. Ty časy už jsou pryč.
Cenzura přestala, přátelé, existovat. Hurá!
The government promises to reduce the dominance of the Communist Party and to allow freedom of speech. National Assembly deliberations are declassified and broadcast live. But in August 1968, Prague is occupied by 7,000 Warsaw Pact tanks. The Soviets are determined to stop Czechoslovakia's headlong democratization. Unarmed citizens boldly challenge their occupiers. They appealed to the Warsaw Pact soldiers in broken Russian. As the tanks close in, national television broadcasts an appeal for help to the world.
Wir sind vielleicht die einzige in der ganzen tschechoslowakischen Republik im Fernsehen, die noch senden können. Ich weiß nicht, wie lange. Ich bitte alle, informieren Sie die ganze Welt, besonders den Generalsekretär und Amt und Sicherheitsrat.
An artist steps forward to add his voice to the protest. The playwright, Václav Havel. 21 years later, Havel will rise to lead his country. In 1968, he leads the call to fight on as the occupiers take over one broadcaster after another.
Prohlášení, jehož autorem je spisovatel a dramatik Václav Havel.
Možná, že to je jeden z prvních případů, kdy jsou kulomety a tanky bezmocné proti myšlenkám a etické síle lidí. A tak vytrvejme. Vytrvejme všichni. Nevzdejme se nikdy sami sebe.
Yet just 2 months later, women's gymnastics. Vera Časlavska's fighting spirit captures 4 gold and 2 silver medals for Czechoslovakia. But in the floor exercise, she must share the gold with Larisa Petrick of the USSR. Just as the Soviet anthem begins, Časlavska looks away from the Soviet flag. Her message needs no words. It reaches people all over the world. The 1960s closes with a riveting drama in another world. The Apollo 11 mission leaves humanity's first footprints on the moon. Like the protest movements and war in Vietnam, pictures from the moon are beamed to people's homes via satellite.
I'm going to step off the limb now.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
As his crewmates walk on the moon, pilot Michael Collins gazes at Earth. He later describes his thoughts.
I really believe that if the political leaders of the world could see their planet from a distance of 100,000 miles, their outlook would be fundamentally changed. That all-important borders would be invisible, noisy arguments suddenly silenced. The Earth must become as it appears, blue and white, not capitalist or communist, blue and white, not rich or poor.
In 1975, the capital of South Vietnam falls to soldiers from the north. America's war ends in failure. In the early 1960s, public support for the war topped 60%. By the fall of Saigon, support has more than halved. People say America was defeated by television. But without its main target, the anger of the nation's young people seems to suddenly dissipate. The late 1980s brought new upheavals to the established order. In June 1987, Berlin is the site of a momentous event. A British rock star holds an outdoor concert on the west side of the Berlin Wall. David Bowie is a superstar born out of the 60s counterculture. The wall is just behind the stage. Bowie has a quarter of the speakers turned toward it and East Berlin.
Und wir schicken unsere besten Wünsche zu all unseren Freunden, die auf der anderen Seite der Mauer sind.
Cameras are also rolling on the east side of the wall. Bowie's message comes through loud and clear in East Berlin. His hit song Heroes is about a couple meeting in the shadow of the wall. But in East Germany, unauthorized public assemblies are prohibited. Several hours before the concert, a citizen secretly films the excited crowd. Men who appear to be secret police agents watch closely from the sidelines. East Germany is a society ruled by fear. When they sense the presence of the secret police, ordinary citizens usually disperse. But not now. The camera captures young East Berliners shouting something astonishing. The people of East Germany have never openly challenged their oppressors, until now.
The mood was one of enjoying forbidden fruit. We knew that this was somehow being done for our benefit.
The people keep coming, and the crowd swells to 5,000. After the concert, some are arrested for refusing to leave. Two years after Bowie's performance, the longing for freedom finally explodes. China, April 1989. Youth begin agitating for change. 1 million people, most of them students, gather in Tiananmen Square to demand democracy. China's Communist Party is groping for a way forward, but its leadership is divided. University students gather in Beijing to demand that China's government press forward with reforms. The protesters erect a statue they call the Goddess of Democracy. She is placed to confront Chairman Mao. The protesting students are children of the generation that suffered during the Cultural Revolution. But now the government turns on them with force. Troops open fire, and armoured vehicles roll through the packed square.
Fathers and mothers, don't be sad. When we are saying farewell to life, please don't break your hearts. Please do not forget that what we are seeking is in no way death. For we know democracy is not the affair of a few, and we realize it cannot be achieved by one generation. Farewell, our parents. Please forgive us. Your children cannot be loyal and filial at the same time. Farewell, our people. Please permit us to demonstrate our loyalty in this desperate fashion.
In the Soviet bloc, demands for freedom and democracy are finally erupting. August 1989. East Germans flock to Hungary and cross the border to freedom in Austria. In November, after standing for 28 years as a symbol of division between East and West, the Berlin Wall is brought tumbling down. And one after another, the socialist governments of the Soviet bloc fall like dominoes. In Prague, student demonstrations for democracy swell to 200,000. The communist-led government resigns a few days later. Czechoslovakia's transition is so peaceful, it earns the nickname the Velvet Revolution. The new republic's first leader is Václav Havel. Havel exhorted his people to have courage during the Soviet invasion in 1968. Now he is president of the nation.
Dbejme o to, aby tyto hodnoty rozkvétaly dál. Nedopustíme, aby kdokoliv jakkoliv pošpinil tuto krásnou tvář naší pokojné revoluce.
A year after taking office, Havel is invited to give an address at Columbia University. In the 1960s, students at Columbia played a key role in the protests that engulfed America.
The atmosphere of the 60s in universities in the United States and the whole atmosphere of that time very much inspired me. Young people, mothers and fathers of contemporary students of your university, were protesting the old structures of society. But now, we not only protest old structures, we must build new structures. This was why I accepted the highest function in my country.
The youth movement's dream of changing the world has been handed on to the next generation. Television was the medium that forged connections between the hearts of young people across time and space. And in the 21st century, the internet is bringing us even closer together. Ours is truly a new century of images.